Save images. Save images. So what about save images? As of 2015 release of Photoshop CC, to select file, then select save for web options has been moved by the way to file, then export, and then save for web legacy, alongside newer export options. And what about save a file? How to save a file? If you'd like to save a file in Photoshop, how to save a file? You can use the save command to save changes to the current file, or the save as command to save changes to a different file, by the way. And how to save changes to the current file? How to save changes to the current file? You should choose the file firstly, then select save, and the file remains in the current format. And how to save a file with a different name or different location or format? How to save a file with a different name or different location or different format? We have steps here now. Step number 1, you should choose file firstly, then select save as. Note here please in this point. The camera raw, by the way, plugin can save camera raw image files in a different file format, such as digital negative DNG. Step number 2, you should choose a format from the format menu. Note here please and be careful. If you choose a format that doesn't support all the features of the document, a warning will appear, by the way, at the bottom of the dialog box. And if you see this warning, it's best, by the way, to save a copy of the file in Photoshop format or in another format that supports all of the image data. And step number 3, you should specify a file name and location. Step number 4, in the save as dialog box, you should select saving options. Then number 5, select OK. Click save. I'm so sorry. Click save to save to save format. And a dialog box appears, by the way, for choosing options when saving in some image formats. And to copy, by the way, to copy an image without saving it to your hard disk, you can't use the duplicate command to store a temporary version of the image in memory. And you can't use the history panel to create a snapshot, by the way. And what about file saving options? File saving options, by the way, you can search a variety of file saving options in the save as dialog box. And the availability of options depends on the image you are saving and the selected file format. We have many options here now. The first option is a copy. As a copy is meaning that saves a copy of the file while keeping the current file open on your desktop. And the next option, alpha channels. Alpha channels is meaning that saves the alpha channel of information with the image. And disabling this option, by the way, removes the alpha channels from the saved image. And what about layers? Layers is meaning that preserves all layers in the image, and if this option is disabled or unavailable, all visible layers, by the way, are flattened or merged depending on the selected format. And what about notes? Notes is meaning that saves notes with the image. And what's the meaning of spot colors? Spot colors is meaning that saves the spot channel information with the image, and disabling this option, by the way, removes spot colors from the saved image. And what about use prof setup? Use prof setup ICC profile if you use Windows, or embed color profile if you use macOS, and creates a color managed document. Note here please now, the following image, by the way, preview and the file extension options are available only if ASCII saving is selected for the image previews, and append file extension if you use macOS, and options in the file handling preferences dialog box. So what about thumbnail if you use Windows? What about thumbnail if you use Windows? Thumbnail if you use Windows is meaning that saves thumbnail data for the file. And what's the meaning of use lower case extension if you use Windows? It's meaning makes the file extension lowercase. And what about image previews options if you use macOS? It's meaning saves thumbnail data for the file, and the thumbnails appear, by the way, in the open dialog box. And what about file extension options if you use macOS? It's meaning it specifies the format for file extensions, and then select a prompt to add the format extension to a file name and use lowercase to make the extension lowercase. And how to set file saving preferences. How to set file saving preferences. We have steps. Step number 1. Do one of the following. If you use Windows, you should choose Edit firstly. Then you choose Preferences, then you choose File Handling. If you use macOS, you should choose Photoshop firstly. Then you choose Preferences, then you choose File Handling again. Step number 2. Set the following options. We have many options here again. The first option, image previews. Image previews is meaning that it chooses an option for saving image previews and never save to save files without previews, and always save to save files with specified previews, or ask when saving to assign previews on a file by file basis. And if you use macOS, you can select one or more previews types. And what about file extensions if you use Windows? File extensions if you use Windows. You can choose, by the way, an option for the 3-character file extensions that indicate a file's format. And you can use uppercase to append file extensions using uppercase characters, or use lowercase to append file extensions using lowercase characters. So what about append file extension if you use Mac OS? Append file extension if you use macOS, meaning file extensions are necessary, by the way, for files that you want to use on or transfer to a Windows system. And choose an option for appending extensions to file names, and never to save, by the way, files without file extensions, and always to append file extensions to file names, or ask when saving to append file extensions on a file by file basis. And then select use lowercase to append file extensions using lowercase characters. And what about save as to original folder? Save as to original folder is meaning that when saving defaults to the folder images originated from deselect this option, by the way, to instead default to the folder you last saved in. And what about save in background? Save in background is meaning that background saving, by the way, lets you keep working in Photoshop after you choose a save command, and you don't have to wait for Photoshop to finish saving the file, by the way. And what about automatically save recovery information? Automatically save recovery information is meaning that Photoshop automatically stores the crash recovery information at the interval that you specify. And if you experience a crash, Photoshop, by the way, recovers your work when you restart it. And what about Mac OS image preview options? Mac operating system image preview options. By the way, in Mac OS, you can select one or more of the following preview types, by the way, to speed the saving of files and minimize file size, and then select only the previews you need. And what's the meaning of icon? Icon is meaning that uses the preview as a file icon on the desktop. And so what about full size? Full size is meaning that saves a 72 ppi version of the file for use in applications that can open only low resolution Photoshop images for non-APS files. This is a BICT preview, by the way. And what about Macintosh thumbnail? Macintosh thumbnail is meaning that displays the preview in the open dialog box. And what about Windows thumbnail? Windows thumbnail is meaning that saves a preview that Windows system can display. And what about save large document? Save large document is meaning that Photoshop supports documents, by the way, up to 300,000 pixels in either dimensions, and offers 3 file formats for saving documents with images having more than 30,000 pixels in either dimensions. And keep in mind that most other applications, by the way, including versions of Photoshop earlier than Photoshop CS, cannot handle files larger than 2 gigabytes or images exceeding 30,000 pixels in either dimension. And in this case, you should choose file firstly, then choose save as, and then choose one of the following file formats. We have 3 options here now. The first option, large document format, BSP, is meaning supports documents of any file size, and all Photoshop features, by the way, are preserved in BSP files. And so some plugin filters are unavailable if documents exceed 30,000 pixels in width or height. And currently, BSB files, by the way, are supported only by Photoshop CS and later. So what about Photoshop Pro? Photoshop Pro is meaning that supports documents of any pixel dimension or file size, but doesn't support layers, by the way, and large documents saved in the Photoshop Pro format are flattened. So what about TIFF format? It's meaning that supports file up to 4 GB in size, and documents larger than 4 GB cannot be saved in TIFF format, by the way. How to export layers to files? How to export layers to files? By the way, you can export and save layers as individual files using a variety of formats, including BSD or BMP or JPG and PDF and Targa and TIFF format layers. And layers are named, by the way, automatically as they are saved. And also you can set options to control the generation of names. We have steps. Step number 1. You should choose file firstly, then choose export, then select export layers to files. Step number 2. In the export layers to files dialog box, under destination, you should click browse to select a destination for the exported files. By default, by the way, and the generated files are saved in the sample folder as the source file. Step number 3. Enter a name in the file name prefix text box to specify a common name for the files. Step number 4. You should select the visible layers only option if you want to export only those layers that have visibility enabled in the layers panel, and then you can't use this option, by the way, if you don't want all the layers exported, and then turn off visibility for layers that you don't want exported. Step number 5. You should choose a file format firstly from the file type menu, then set options as necessary. Step number 6. You should choose a file. You should select the include ICC profile option if you want the working space profile embedded in the exported file. This is important, by the way, for color managed workflow. Step number 7. Click run to run this command.